How are you guys doing? I'm glad that you have tuned in today because this is a very important segment today that we're doing about what's going on in our communities. First of all, I would like to say RIP to Junior Guzman. And it's not, excuse me. I'd like to say RIP to Junior. Peace, Naisha Jackson, for tuning in. I'd like to say RIP to Junior. You know, if you haven't, in case you've been under a rock somewhere and you haven't really seen, Junior's situation. Junior was a young 15-year-old boy who was brutally murdered by some guys, and basically in a case of mistaken identity, in which he was identified by a young woman as someone who had sexually violated her, which caused some men to attack him and assault him and ultimately end his life. And unfortunately, his demise was on camera. He was chased and beaten. He chased into a bodega here in the Bronx, where he was pulled out of the bodega, pulled outside, and cut. He was stabbed and cut. They said over 20 times with lacerations, and ultimately the laceration to his neck led him to bleed to death, where he was not even a block away from the hospital. So it was a very tragic death. It was all over the news. It was all over social media. Everyone seen it play out, and it was just very, it was very tragic. Just watching it disturbed me, and just understanding the reality coming from the Bronx, living in the Bronx the majority of my life, and so I understand there was a public outcry. There was a public outcry for justice for Junior, and I think to date there's about 8 or 9 people who have been arrested and charged with his murder, and just coming from this community, coming from the Bronx, understanding that there is a real culture of violence that we've been indoctrinated into. We've been taught to glorify. We've been taught to idolize. Even most of the people we idolize in our music, in our just entertainment, anything, it's a glorification of violence. So I utilize my social media to touch on a couple of those things, to talk about how there's a culture of violence that we've adopted, and how that culture of violence led to Junior's death and ultimately engulfed the people who committed the crime. And it wasn't a very popular post. It wasn't something that a lot of people agree with. There was a lot that did agree, but it definitely sparked a conversation. And and it was just me writing words. So I thought, I would like to just elaborate, because a lot of people was like, well, maybe you should have did a video behind that and let people see your point of view and understand where you're coming from in a different aspect, so they can see you. Because a lot of times words that people write can be taken, and and you can process words that people write when there's no dialogue behind it. So what I said was, I said that we failed those kids, Junior included. We failed them. That we taught. We allowed these kids to get engulfed in this culture of violence. The people, and a lot of people didn't agree. The oldest, I think at that point it ranged from 18 to 25. So there were You see it right now. There are 5 pictures. These pictures, within these 5 people, they range from the ages of 18 to 25. And these were the people who committed the crime. And I said, you know, there was a lot of people saying they need to die in jail. You know, I hope they rot in hell. I hope they get raped. And I was saying, I don't take that posture. You know, I don't agree with that narrative. I don't agree with that sentiment. It wasn't one of mine, because being formerly incarcerated, understanding that the prison system is not meant to do anything but take us away from our communities, take us out of our homes. It's pretty much a warehouse where they warehouse people of color every day. So understanding that reality, I didn't share that mentality. I didn't share everybody's ideology when it came to that. So I said to myself, I went on my Twitter and said, on my Instagram and said, you know, I don't think that we should be saying, I don't agree that we want to see these people die. You know, yes, justice should be served. There should be ramifications for the action. There have to be consequences. Life was lost, you know, and there has to be consequences. But I think the age that these kids were, they were not even aware of the full understanding of what it was they were doing. And because they are indoctrinated into this culture of violence that we've introduced to them as older men, I say we, I'm not saying them or blame anybody. I'm saying that I have responsibility into it. Being from the Bronx, understanding that I've made music, I've done things that have created a culture of violence, that's contributed to a culture of violence. And then I also didn't utilize my voice to change that culture of violence when I realized that it was wrong. When I realized it was wrong, I wasn't going outside every day and talking to these kids. I wasn't going out every day and telling them that, yo, you know what, man? You can't really be doing this because you're going to end up in jail. I wasn't seeing the kids that I knew were at risk. I wasn't seeing the kids that I knew that were living in these communities that were being indoctrinated. And I was allowing other people who have influence, but a negative influence, to control their minds and control their realities. So if I didn't take that responsibility as a man, then I wouldn't be a man. You understand what I'm saying? If I know that I have a sense of control and a sense of leadership, and I have a sense of influence over these kids, and I'm not influencing them away from what I know is negative in fear of being called lame, or in fear of not fitting in to the status quo, in fear of not being a part of what they say is cool, or in fear of not wanting to sound outdated, or all these things. If I didn't utilize my voice to combat the negativity that they was dealing with, then how would I not say that I'm responsible? How do any of us not say that we're responsible? We walk by these kids every day on the corners, you know, and we see them and we give up. You know, we give up. We don't utilize our voices, and we don't sit them down, or we don't give them some real knowledge and jewels, especially us that come from the streets. Exactly. Especially us that come from the streets. When you come from the streets and you understand, and you've been to prison, and you got caught up in this web, and then you get out of it, if you do not say to yourself that I have a duty to inform the next generation of the plan that they have for us in these prison cells, how do you not hold yourself to some level of responsibility for that? That's what I asked. And I think a lot of people say, oh, you trying to give these people, you know, you justifying this. Junior's the one who needs to be worrying about him. Fuck those kids. Fuck what they've been through. Who cares? And I'm like, why would I say that? Because to say that, that means, how am I going to stop what happened to Junior from happening again? Because what happened to Junior is a cycle. It continues to happen. This Junior is not the first person that this happened to. Unfortunately, we were able to see it play out on social media. But Junior is not the first person who's been brutally killed in a gang assault. Junior's not the first person who's been stabbed or shot in these same communities. This is a normal occurrence. It just wasn't normal because you actually don't see it played out on social media to where you're able to view it over and look. But you're looking at it in a vacuum. You're not looking at it to where you understand what's going on in these communities. You not understand what's being taught in these communities, who's guiding the people in this community, and the people who have the ability to guide are not doing it. They're giving up. They're saying these kids don't listen. They know everything. You know, I ain't gonna talk to them. I ain't even gonna get involved. That's not my kid. Long as my kids is good, I'm good. But we feel so responsible for Junior, but why we don't feel responsible for the people who did the harm to Junior? Why we don't see, damn, if somebody that they respected had told them something different, then maybe this wouldn't happen. In understanding that, I need to be more proactive in my approach. Moving forward from this situation, I need to be more proactive in my approach and say, you know what? When I start seeing these kids on the car, I'm going to have a conversation. Pull them to the side. Go buy them a soda. You know what I'm saying? Let me go buy them a soda, buy them some, yo, come let me talk to you. Walk to the store with me, young blood, and have a conversation and drop it on them real, because these kids, they know what's going on. You can't trick them no more. So have a real conversation with them and say, yo, listen, this is what's going on. They trying to lose you. Now, you can not listen to what I'm saying, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. The reality of the situation is this system is designed to lose you inside the system. They want to put you in a jail cell for the rest of your life. New form of slavery. Or you die, and what it is, it is. They don't want us to see it past 21. This is our reality. So when you look and you see these 18 to 25-year-old kids going to prison, this is status quo. This is not nothing new. This is not a new occurrence. These kids been going to jail. I went to jail at 21 years old. It's designed to get you out of here in your prime. It's designed for you to make mistakes that they know will be timely and lead to ultimately life-ending and threatening decisions. This is what our whole community has been designed to set you up for failure. Because the only vision of success you ever seen was something that came negative. Nobody that was doing anything positive still lives in our community. The doctor don't live in the hood. He got some money. If he became a doctor, he moved out of the hood. He moved somewhere else. He took him and his family and they relocated. They didn't stay in the hood so that the little kids next door could say, yo, the doctor, how did you get to be a doctor? No, that wasn't their reality. So what I'm saying is this. Most of them just need a hug. They got broken. Exactly. And if you don't understand that, we need to give these people more of guidance. We have to be responsible for our communities. Ain't nobody gonna come save us. Ain't no Superman. Ain't nobody with a cape coming to our communities to save us. And if we don't take that initiative to save these kids, we're gonna lose them, and we're gonna keep on losing. We lost all them young boys at once. Exactly. We definitely lost all of those young boys at once. And we're gonna keep losing them if we don't do what it takes to win. If we don't do what it takes to keep them, we're gonna keep losing them. We're gonna lose a bunch of them. You know, so what is our goal? You know, is our goal to just keep locking up people that commit crimes, or get in front of it before the crime is committed so we don't have to keep losing people to the jails, to the prison system? Like, what is the goal? People saying, oh, fuck you. And they were angry with me. Angry. People were pissed off with me because I had that point of view. We failed those kids. We failed them. The kid was on there crying. He was like, don't cry now. What you mean don't cry now? His whole life is lost. It's gone. He made a split decision that was dictated by a culture of violence that was created in his community that he came to, and they made him believe that she was the cool. That was what was in He fit into the same narrative that's all around that we constantly perpetuate, but it's good for him. Now, if he was your son, you wouldn't say he was good. If he was your homeboy, you'd be like, yo, free my man. Because these dudes on Instagram every day screaming, free my man with 7 and 8 bodies. No, that's my man, free him. But since these people have no attachment to you and you're able to fit into the trend, which is justice for Junior, and they need to die, you gravitate to that. And I'm supposed to be okay with that. I'm supposed to fit into that. That's right. It's way more jails than MCAs and boys and girls clubs. But that's what we have to create. We have to change the narrative. We know what's missing in our communities. We know why these kids are on the corners, because there's nothing else for them to do. We need to lead and protect, exactly. And we have to be proactive in our approach. We have to be very intentional in our approach, everybody. People don't want to hear the reality. People don't want to talk about when there's some accountability for them. We got to take accountability. These are kids. I don't care what nobody says. 25. At 25, I was not fully aware of the long-term effects and ramifications of actions. At 21, I definitely didn't know. The shit that I did at 21, I would never do now. I wouldn't even remotely think about doing it now. And of course the parents, and we can say the parents failed, but no, because raising a child takes a village. The parents could be in the house saying everything necessary. Hey, young boy, when you go outside, boom, boom. But once you walk outside that door, once a kid walks outside that door, the community takes over. If your mother's going to work every day and she's struggling so you can survive, and she's teaching you the good word and she's telling you just do the right thing, or you got a father and mother doing the same, or you don't even have a father. Well, most of these kids don't have a father. You don't have a strong support system, a strong male role model. And you go outside and you find a male role model because he getting some money. He's in the gang and he's the person that they looking up to and they talking about, and he's the man and this and that. And you follow that lead. You want to be a part of something. So you join this gang and this and that, and you have to be this and you have to do this, and you got to quote unquote put work in, and you know, you got to show that you ready to bust your gun and all these things, and you indoctrinated into the culture of violence. You know, you indoctrinated. Now parents don't know. When you come in the house, you're quiet, you ain't did much, you go in your room, you eat. Nobody knows what's going on when you leave my house. So when we say that the parents failed, they might have, or they might have not. But I give more to the community that sees them when they outside being who they are. When they outside being who they are, and us as G's, quote unquote OGs and original gangsters or whatever you're saying, however you call it, us that know what's going on, us that know the full scope of this, you know, of the streets and what it entails and what's going on in the prison cell after you leave these streets, we have a responsibility, because we get to see that kid at his full capacity when nobody's looking, because he don't think what you doing. He don't think you paying attention to him, because we don't care no more. So most of us is just letting them do what they want to do. I had a conversation with a kid, a man, 30 years old, that told me that was arguing with a kid about he sold weed to him, the 12-year-old kid. And he said the kid owed him money. I said, owed you money for what? He said, he bought weed from me on credit. I said, why would you sell weed to a 12-year-old kid? And you're a grown man. How did that happen? How did it get so far to where you thought it made sense for you to put illegal substance into this young boy's hand? Something that was going to deter his right to reason. Something that wasn't going to have him on. Why did you feel comfortable in that? How do we feel comfortable in giving these kids shit that we know is not the best thing for them? Advice, drugs, whatever it is. Kids, not adults, not 18 and over, but a kid that's not even able to make a conscious decision, that doesn't even know, that's just following us. How do we continue on a cycle of that? You know, like how have we moved so far from consciousness that we think shit like that is okay? That's what I'm asking myself. What have we done? How did we move from that? So then my second premise was, there was an old man who ran the bodega, who owned the bodega. If you watch the video, there's footage of the old man trying to push him off the counter. There's footage of the old man ushering him out the store, saying, get out. There's footage of the old man saying, take it outside of my store. And people are rightfully so pissed off with this old man. They want his ass thrown out. So what happens is the store is closed. They close the store down. Another unpopular opinion I have is, what did we expect from the store owner? Like, honestly, what did we expect this old 60-something-year-old man, civilian, who sees somebody come into his store? He doesn't know the situation. They jump on his counter. He doesn't do anything because he notices the boys and see that he's scared. So he tries to do what he can. These boys come into his store, looks like, quote unquote, I don't know the words, none of us can hear what he's saying, but it looks like they're threatening him and the people in the store. And ultimately, they get him from behind the counter. He goes out of the store. And when he comes back in, he's bleeding. The man doesn't know what to do. He says, quote unquote, that he said he called the ambulance, but they're not gonna come fast enough, in the hospitals right up to the block. Literally, you know. And people call for this man's head. They closed his store. They said it's his fault. And I said, how much responsibility do you give to this old man? He's not a hero. I get it. We wish that he was. We wish that he was a modern day hero. We wish that he was able to think fast like some of us who've been in situations. We wish that he was able to hoard off the perpetrators, to say, nah. And he was brave enough to say, nah, you're not going to do nothing. Get out. We wish that he was. I so wish he was able to do that. But the reality of the situation is he wasn't. I don't think there was no malice or malicious intent. I don't think that man just didn't have empathy. I think the man had fear along with ignorance. Ignorant to exactly what was going on. He was being told by somebody that something happened. I don't know what, but they obviously was having a conversation saying, you better let him out. We're going to do this, this, and that. He don't know what's going on. You want him to risk his life and his business for something that he's not aware of. Is that fair? Is that fair for you to put that type of pressure? To put that type of pressure on you. And in full disclosure, listen, I went there last night. Me and my wife drove over there last night. And I stood in front of the store, seeing the candles, and they were painting his mural. And and I cried. I was like crying crazy, and it was just overwhelming. I cried because I understood that if we don't do something, this is not going to end. I understood that this man, this young boy, his mother lost her son, his father lost her son, sister and brothers lost their brother. I understood the full scope, but I also understood that those other 5 young people, mothers lost them. Lost them. They're going to be in the prison probably for the rest of their life. Their mothers lost them. And that's something they got to live with on their conscience. We lost soldiers. We are really at war. Black and brown people in America, we are at war. And we losing soldiers every day. We losing them on our own. We're losing them in our own communities, to our own people. So what are we going to do to change the narrative of violence? What are we going to do to start making people value life? What are we going to say? What is our plan? What is the goal? Because we see this happen. Okay, so now those kids is locked up. Now what? They locked up. Is that real? Is that what justice for Junior looks like? I'm thinking that justice for Junior will be to end the culture of violence in our communities, which would make that even possible to happen. I'm saying that we should be looking at that. That's what I'm looking, the long-term effects of how we create programs in our community that keep the kids out of violent situations. We create programs that give kids real, not just job, but career opportunities. How do we create, because these kids don't want a job. They don't want to do something because they watch their parents work every day and have nothing. So they want to figure out, how do I get to be able to be successful? How do I become successful? How do you put me in a situation where I'm able to sustain a lifestyle that makes me feel comfortable? So when are we going to start creating situations and opportunities in our community that make that possible? That's what it's about. It's about saying to ourselves, as men, we're going to step up to the plate, right? And we're going to govern our communities. We're going to police our communities. We're going to govern our communities. We're going to raise our men to show them what manhood is. First of all, we have to retrain these young men on what manhood looks like. We have to, the principles of manhood have been grossly misstated. We have what we call, quote unquote, real is the fakest shit ever. The people we glorify in this community have done nothing but tear it down. And that's what they were taught to do. You know? So at the end of the day, that's what we have to start at. We have to start at these so-called OGs and gangsters that's bringing these kids home. All right, you bringing them home and you indoctrinate into a family. So now the game that you have, what is it? What is it supposed to do? It's about protection. It's about family. It's about financial empowerment. Okay. So what we're going to do is rebuild our community. The same authority that you have in these gangs, the same mentality that you have about blood this and family that and Crip brother and whatever all the other gangs are, utilize it for what it was originally made for. And there are examples of this. My brother Shanduke, you know, G-Mac, they showing you through example how these gangs can be transformed into the things that protect the community. All you have to do is change the narrative. You have to change the narrative. You have to change the mentality of these kids because they've been taught wrong. They've been taught to idolize and glorify negativity. And we taught them that because somebody taught us, but we didn't stop. When we realized that we was being taught wrong and we realized it didn't work, we didn't tell the kids it don't work. Some of us came home and glorified prisons. Some of us came home and glorified the negativity that you know is only a dead end. It's only two ends to this shit. Dead or in jail. You know? So if we understand that reality and we're not giving them that reality, then we are failing them. We are failing our kids. You know, and I want us not to be what we despise. You know, when you call it for death and you want to see an 18 or 19-year-old die, you become what you despise. We are so hurt that Junior's life was taken. We're so hurt that we just want blood. And then people say, if it was your kids, you would want this. And I can't say that's what I would want. I can't. Just understanding the realities of what we're dealing with, understand that violence is a national health crisis, understand that poverty equals violence, that poverty is violence, understand that we come from nothing, where most of us don't think we're going to make it out of nothing. We understand, when I understand that, when I know that's the reality that I've dealt with my whole life, then I have to give it a different perspective. I have to look and say to myself, I don't even think those kids are have the full faculties to even deal with what they've done. So for me to wish death on them, I wish life on them. I wish them to be able to deal with their actions, to be remorseful, to have a lifetime plan to give back, to inform somebody, other young kid who's on a path that they were on why it doesn't make sense to go down that path. To tell people how they have to live with that action for the rest of their life. To sit there and tell these young kids, yo, when I was 19, I was 20, I took the life of a young boy. I didn't think of it was doing it. I didn't even realize. I got caught up in a senseless second of rage, which cost me my life. And I don't want you to go down that same path. I sat in a cell for however many years, 20, 30 years. I sat in the cell away from my family, missing them. I watched countless kids come in and out of here, back and forth, and realize that this is designed to keep us here. That's, for me, that's more of a benefit than you killing somebody. That's a real line. The child who isn't embraced by the village will burn it down to feel its warmth. And that's what it comes down to. And we got to understand that. We have a responsibility to our communities. We have a responsibility to these kids. We can't just say your parents did you wrong. It's their parents ain't raising right. No, parents might have did everything right. They probably had the best parents in the world. Probably got parents that go to work every day, and most of them are not even, they come from Dominican Republic. So the parents came here for a better life, going to work, or whatever it is they do. Could have been, I don't know. Don't get me the line. Or didn't have much education here, just came to get away, just trying to figure it out every day. Got here with these kids, no father, one parent or whatever, or both parents just working, trying to survive, just make sure the kids have the things that they don't have, you know, and they're taken care of. And while they're doing that, they being poorly influenced in the streets to where we are. We see them on these corners smoking weed and yelling and beefing and all that. And none of the OGs is pulling them to the side and saying, yo, young bud, the path you're traveling only ends one way. But instead you laughing and say, yo, you shorty, you funny. You off up with shorty, you just my little man, he a gangster. And they putting guns in their hands, and they putting knives, and they putting drugs in these kids' hands. And that's how we're dealing with our youth that are going down the wrong direction. We're not trying to take the guns out their hand. We actually the ones that's putting it in their hand. What's gangster about that? Huh? What's gangster about that? Don't scream justice for Junior and scream free Pookie that got 6 bodies. Don't scream justice for Junior when you know that it was somebody that looked like one of the kids that did that to Junior in your community, and you watched him move every day and didn't do anything to save him. Don't scream justice for Junior if you don't really mean justice for Junior. Because for justice for Junior looks like to me, and what it looks like for you may be different. Justice for Junior to you may be these people locked up that had anything to do with his death. So cool, justice was served. Justice for Junior for me means the community is stronger and more unified. The youth are more educated and on a stronger, straighter path. Violence becomes something that we don't tolerate in our community. We love each other and we value life so much more that what happened to Junior does never happen again. And even if it's not never, it's such a rare occurrence in our community that it's equally as shocking. Because we took the necessary precautions, we made up our mind that our community is worth more than that. A life is worth more than a disagreement. We made up our mind. We protecting each other. We loving each other. And I don't want to see your life taken from you. That's what justice for Junior is for me. So you got to ask what it is for you. You know, you got to ask what it is for you. Are we just gonna go to the, you know, Junior's place and take pictures and do videos and say you went there? There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, I went there last night and today. I went over there and met with one of the brothers that I think have a real genuine interest in being a leader in the community. And that's Scott LaRock Jr. You know, I was originally introduced to the brother online when he was having a discussion with the borough president, also who's a friend of mine, Ruben Diaz, and he was having a very candid, real conversation. He was like, when we gonna stop these kids from dying, man? What we gonna do to stop these kids from dying? Like, there's no programs here, there's no community centers, you gotta pay $100. These kids can't even pay their rent, their families can't even pay the rent. And we charging them $100 to go to Boys and Girls Club. When we gonna give them something else to do? When we gonna take them out these streets? When I used to be here, there was programs, there was this, there was opportunity. These kids don't got none of that. When we gonna put that back in our community? You know, when I heard him saying this, and I was like, that's the question. That's the question. That's what I need to have these questions. So I went and I sat down with the brother today, and we build, man. And piece by piece, we taking these communities back. Because what we're going to do is, I'm calling on all the brothers, strong brothers in the community, and the sisters too, because we definitely need y'all. But I think as men, I think women have been doing so much things over the last few years, especially Black and Hispanic women. They have been doing so much to lead, you know, for our liberation, for freedom, for justice. And I think it's right now, men in our community have to take back our place as protectors. At least being protectors. You're not physically stronger than the average woman for nothing. You know, you're not able to impose your will and be able to be strong for nothing. So at this point, I think it is our duty to take back our communities, to protect them from perpetrators, from outsiders, to retrain men on what manhood looks like. You know, and what I'm doing is going to all these marginalized communities, the at-risk communities, and I want to sit down with the gangsters, the G's, the real rights, you know, whatever you call them, big homies. I want to sit down with them because those are the people who are leading, whether it's in a negative way or whatever. Those are the people who are leading these communities. Those are the same people who have the ability to protect these communities. It's just a simple change of direction. You know, it's a simple change of your leadership. The simple change of you saying, you know what, we ain't shooting, and we making sure that nobody else shoot. We ain't shooting. Now the power is I'm showing my leadership because I'm going to make sure that nobody gets hurt in our community. Because this is where I'm from, and I love these people. The old lady's going to feel comfortable walking to the store. Ain't nobody getting robbed. Ain't no violent acts going to happen in this community because that's what leadership looks like. Now, when we sit down as this governing body of our own communities, from each of these hoods, these people, the people who are the major influences in those hoods, sit down at a table, and we say, listen, this is our government. This is our governing body. Now we go into the state and we sit down with the mayor and say, okay, these communities are high at risk. And the reason why they're at risk is because you don't have this. They don't have these programs. They don't have these facilities to go to. They don't have the knowledge of things that are going to give them careers. They don't have mentors. They don't have places to go that's other than the street corner. Now we sit down and say, these are the people that govern these communities, and they know what the communities need. We need you to allocate funds. We need you to allocate resources to these people so that they can make sure that the community is taken care of. That's what leadership looks like to me. That's gangster to me. You know? That's what leadership looks like. That's what you're a gangster and you can do that. Because I want to sit down with the people that's the gangsters. I don't want to sit down with the 9 to 5 people that are concerned, because I know you're concerned. You've been concerned. You've been doing your part. You've been having a conversation. You've been doing this. No, what we got to do is transform those who are directly impacted by the problem. Those that directly impacted must be the solution. The former present gang members must change the minds of the gang. Those incarcerated and formerly incarcerated must give the knowledge to stop people from being incarcerated. Those directly impacted must be the solution. And that's what my goal is. My goal is to build with those brothers, to build with them and take back our community. And then as we can do that, our teams will consist of strong sisters in the community that also have influence. But it's going to start with the core. Just like the Women's March is core built off women. But I'm a part of the Women's March because I march with the women. But it's built. It's head. It's structured. It's led. It's a woman-led organization. And that's what this is going to be. This is going to be the Bronx. It's going to be for the Bronx. And then we're going to move it on because it's happening in Brooklyn. My brother A.T. Mitchell, my brother Shandu, is happening in Queens. My sister Erica Ford. It's happening in these communities. And they have some cure violent sites in the Bronx, but it's not happening to where we are visible, credible messengers, respected streetwise and every other wise in these communities, to where we have the influence to actually change the paradigm of what goes on in these communities. It's not, we haven't put together a body of leaders that are respected on every level by these communities, by these streets, by these kids, by these grown-ups, and have the ability to lead, have the ability to influence. That's what we need. We just got to change the direction. It's the same hustle, it's just a different product. Now we selling positivity. Now we selling positivity. Now we selling nonviolence. We selling now, we ain't walking around with no guns. We don't need no guns. We're going to teach these young boys how to box. If something really get good, we're going to take them back in the park and y'all going to box it out. And you're going to go home as men, you're going to shake it, and we're going to be good. That's what we need back in our communities. When the OGs see y'all beefing, come on, let's get the gloves. We're taking them back there. Throw the gloves on, you finish, all right, go upstairs, shake hands like men. And everybody respect you. And you went off and you lived another day. You might have had a bloody nose or a black eye, but it's like, nah, that was a good fight. And they got the energy out, like, because I'm not saying everything gonna be peaches and cream every day. I'm just saying we ain't out here trying to kill each other. It's each one teach one. It's about us building and moving forward in our communities. That's what it's about. So that's why I wanted to come on here and talk about this. And once again, man, R.I.P. to Junior. But Junior is going to be a martyr. Junior is going to be the sacrifice that changed the mind state of the whole Bronx. Because he definitely inspired me. He motivated me to want more for my community. When I understand that this is where we've come to where 15-year-old boys are stabbed in the community and until they bleed to death. When we've got to that level, it imposes its will on my heart. Just like when Trump got in office, I became an activist. Prior to Trump going in office, I was an activist, but it pushed me to say that if I don't do nothing, then everything is lost. And that's what happened with Junior's death. Junior's death pushed me to say to myself, if I'm not active, if I do not utilize my influence, my platform, my understanding, my wisdom, my knowledge of what's going on in these communities to change the reality, then what the fuck am I doing? What am I here for? Am I just here to waste time? I'm just here because I want to, be famous, and that's never been my thing. Of course, I want to be recognized for what I do. Who doesn't? Who doesn't want to be recognized? If you're doing something good and you're doing something positive, if you're doing something that's elevating, if you excel in the sport, you want to be recognized in that. If you rap good, you want people to say you one of the best rappers. That's part of life. But what I want to be recognized for more is changing the world. I want my life to make a difference. I want my raps to say something that sparks a fire inside somebody that makes them say, damn, you know what? I never thought about it like that way. Maybe I'm doing something wrong, or maybe I could be doing it this way. That's what I want my career to be based in. Not how many Grammys I had, but how many people I influenced to be better people. How many realities have I changed? How many mentalities have I changed? That's what it is for me. So I'm not going to hold y'all too long. I just really wanted to have that conversation. I love y'all. It's episode 4 of For the Culture. Look forward to the next one. Probably in another week, we'll have another topic that we'll discuss. Maybe I'll have a special guest. I'm working on a guest who's supposed to be tuned in. But if you haven't seen all of the For the Cultures, we have 3 prior to this one. One, we have interview with one of my friends, Tisha Estacio, the judge from Rochester, New York, who was being harassed for DWI and was, has been suspended from her judgeship, pretty much racially profiled because she was a Black woman. That's one episode. We also have another episode where I spoke to, who was it that I interviewed? I know episode 3 was me and my brother Jay Morrison, who started the Tulsa Fund. Tulsa Foundation was the first Black-owned crowdfunding in the world. And dope. The second episode was where I spoke to my sister Linda Sarsour. Linda Sarsour spoke about what's going on in Palestine and Israel. After I left, I went and I visited Palestine and Israel, and I spoke about my experience, what I see, and she gave her perspective being a Palestinian. And we had 4 dope episodes. I'm glad that y'all seen this one. Share this. We're trying to make For the Culture something that's big because it speaks to our issues. It speaks to what we're dealing with. We give in-depth conversations. And I just hope that I hope what it is, you give us your feedback as you share it, leave messages, DM me, let me know what you think we can do better, what you think we need to do more, who you want to hear from, topics you want to hear us discuss. Please share this on your social media. Share it on all your social media. Everybody tell a friend and tell a friend to tune in For the Culture, because that's what it is. It's for me, it's for the culture, man. I am motivated. It's about authenticity. It's about respect. It's about inspiration. It's about justice. It's not conforming to anything. It's about hip-hop. Shout out to Hip Hop Success TV for presenting it and giving me this platform. I appreciate y'all. But I will see y'all real soon, and find your purpose. Because when you find your purpose in life, you'll never work one day. So look.